in the pantry.
What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up?
What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back to Dope Sports Chicks. We missed you guys last week. I guess we kind of tricked some of you guys. We weren't actually live. That was a replay. So we're sorry about that. But we're here this week. You got Sadell Nicole, the Lioness, and
Carlita Nicole, the quirky queen herself, Chi-Town, born and bred, Texas fed. We're back.
Let's go. Let's
go. And why am I so crunk? There's two reasons. Sadell's going to talk about it later on in the show. My second reason, which is my first reason. Y'all know I have to show y'all that I got on my Hook 'em Horns shirt this week because my Texas Longhorns absolutely demolished and embarrassed the Sooners. So I can't wait for us to get into that later on in the show. But the other reason I'm super crunk, y'all already know, my Dallas Cowboys. Woo! Okay. My Dallas Cowboys beat the Rams, the reigning Super Bowl championship team, the Los Angeles Rams. Did we beat them? We did. 22-10 this week. So, y'all, let's dive into it because I cannot wait to hear what Sadell has to say about some of my questions that I have this week. So, first things first. Yes, and people do still say crunk. Yes. Okay, so y'all, the Rams did not score at all in the second half, okay? And we ended up with 2 field goals in the second half. They ain't score at all, okay? Cooper Rush only threw, like he only had 102 yards passing, okay? We didn't see our number one receiver, CeeDee Lamb, perform like a number one receiver. Michael Gallup, this was his second week back, and he only got 4 targets, or 4 carries. 4 targets. So,
yeah, but one of those targets was major.
I'm not saying that it wasn't because he ended up with 44 yards. CeeDee Lamb ended up with 53 yards. But y'all know every single week, y'all know I have to go there with our rushing game and the whole Zeke and Tony Pollard situation. This week, Zeke had 22 carries for 78 yards, okay? 22 carries, 78 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. What did Tony Pollard have this week? 8 carries for 86 yards, averaging 10.8 yards per carry. And he had a touchdown this week too. Sadell, what does that say about our run game? Seriously, what does that say about our run game? Do we have a fantastic, incredible tandem with Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard? Or do we need to sway one way more Zeke, or do we need to sway more Tony Pollard? Do we keep it as it is? What do we do?
I mean, I think it stays the way it is because at the end of the day, Tony Pollard had one big run. Take that one big run away, and he's averaging about 1 point something yards per carry. Zeke still carries heavy yards and tough yards. So if it's 4th and 5 or 4th and 1 and 4th and inches, they're not giving that ball to Tony Pollard. They're not looking for Tony Pollard. Zeke is going to be in the backfield because he's the one who's going to get it done most of the time. So, yeah, Zeke was – and then, again, I agree with Link. At the end of the day, when we were trying to eat up the clock, then they were riding Zeke like a horse, which I don't mind, but I'm just saying, like, that's just what it is.
Yeah. So with Tony Pollard, what it seems is that apparently with reading a bunch of articles and listening to a bunch of podcasts and stuff, that Tony Pollard doesn't get to touch the ball as much as he does because his pass blocking isn't all that great. And we do know when it comes to blocking, Zeke definitely is one of the running backs in the league, like one of the best running backs in the league for blocking. Like,
he's just more physical in general.
He is. But when Tony Pollard finds a hole, it's a wrap. Like, Zeke finds the hole and allows them to collapse on him. But Tony Pollard maneuvers through it. And I watched him like run over, like through some tackles. Like they had him multiple times during this game, but he would just jump and keep on striding and make it his way downfield. He is definitely one of the ones to help us move the chains. I definitely still believe that Tony Pollard is more of a chain mover than Zeke. I do believe that.
Zeke is more of an earth mover. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's moving piles, like that's a completely different thing. The running styles are completely different.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, to me, Tony Pollard comes in to kind of give Zeke a breather. But if we need yardage, it's gonna be Zeke in the backfield.
So Benji says that Pollard can't handle a lot of carries because he's not built that way.
He can't handle the same kind of carries that Zeke does.
No.
He can't handle that. He can't handle people piling on him and still move. Like, he can't.
So do you think that both of them are essential to our run game at this particular point in our season?
Yeah.
Okay. I could dig that. Absolutely. So Benji also said that Zeke is your ground and pound guy. He opens the defense up for Pollard to be what he is. He does. Absolutely, he does.
I mean, you take Zeke away, everything changes. Our run game changes. Our passing game changes. Zeke is what keeps people at bay, even for the passing game.
Okay. So Matthew said, what do you have to say about Rush being way more of the reason for success than Dak? Let me tell y'all, for those of you who may be new to our show, Matthew is one of our faithful viewers.
Faithful haters.
Matthew absolutely is a straight Dak hater. Okay. So here's the deal. How I feel about that, Matthew. Do I put all of our success in these last 4 games on Cooper Rush? I absolutely do not. This is the deal. Cooper Rush is hands down, once again, the best second string QB in the league. And he is outperforming a lot of starting QBs in the league, right? So that's one thing. But when it comes to Cooper Rush being better than Dak overall, he's not better than Dakota. I think when Dak does come back, we will be able to see more plays down the field, more passes down the field. Because right now, Cooper Rush is playing conservatively. There's not a whole lot of passes downfield. Oftentimes, like, our offensive line has granted him time in the pocket to make some better decisions, which is great. So when Dak comes back, he has more time to assess the field and plays and the defense. So I do think when Dak comes back, our team will just continue to get better. Now, one of the things that I mentioned to somebody earlier, Sadell, is that I could not remember in our last 4 years of doing Dope Sports Chics, us ever being able to say that our Dallas Cowboys were consistent in anything that was positive. Everything that we were consistent in was We're consistently bad until the fourth quarter. We're consistently bad at coaching. We're very predictable consistently. However, this is the first time I've ever been able to say positively, consistently, our Dallas Cowboys defense is consistently good. And I'm saying Super Bowl caliber good. Y'all gonna put some respect on our defense, okay? And I'm talking about in not just in sacks, but in gosh, it's so many things. Pressure. Our QB pressure is ridiculous. We are so good in everything for our defense except for one area, and that's defending the run. And you could tell that when we played Tampa Bay in week 1, that when Leonard Fournette ran all over us. So that's my only concern with our defense, because in interceptions we show up, and in sacks we show up, pressure to the QB we show up. It's just defending the run, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But how do you feel about our defense on both ends, or our defense? And then
I wouldn't agree that even in the past 4 years we haven't had that issue. We've had, I mean, there was a point when our front seven was unstoppable. We had some issues in the secondary, but we had a strong, I mean, when we had Sean Lee and those guys, and as our linebackers, we had a strong defensive line. I mean, we struggled the past year and a half or so with defense, but prior to that, our defense again was carrying us. Like before that got his rhythm, before we had Amari, defense is what helped us stay in the game. So I wouldn't even say that. I feel like we finally got back on course. Dan Quinn is a major mastermind. And so, you know, we got back on course, but I mean, I felt that defense kind of slacked the past year and a half or so, but prior to that, that's what we did.
Okay. I don't feel like we were this good. I feel like we were working.
We weren't this good because we had our secondary was weak. So if at any point they got past our front seven, then we were giving up bombs, you know, but we weren't as good as we were now, but our front seven was very consistent. And, you know, and our pass, and even our run defense was better.
Okay, so Ant said that Pollard's pass blocking troubles also explain why we see Pollard and Zeke on the field at the same time so much now. That way, defenses won't automatically know what's going to be a running play. That helps us, absolutely. That helps with our that predictability factor that we have. One of the things that I was frustrated, not just this week, but also in a couple of previous weeks, what I did notice is that now our fourth quarters absolutely look different. We're going into our fourth quarters winning, right? But even while we're winning, I feel like we played well and made it to the fourth quarter to win, like winning, and then at the last few minutes of the game, we go right back to being super conservative and predictable, and then we go back to making not smart coaching decisions. Like instead of going for it on 4th and 1, we give them the ball back with 2 minutes left in the game to give them a chance to tie it or come back. Like those things have been frustrating for me watching us at the end of the game with Cooper Rush, because that part is not Cooper Rush. That part solely falls on Mike McCarthy, our clock management.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that kind of goes twofold, because at this point, I trust our defense more than I trust our offense, right? The offense, like I do feel like Cooper has been doing a good job of managing the clock and not losing the game. But if I'm going to put the game on somebody, I'm going to put it on my money, and my money right now is on our defense. I do agree that our O-line has been phenomenal somehow, you know, and we weren't even sure how that was going to go starting off. But I feel like our O line has done a good job of helping him keep the game going, but our defense is money in the bank right now.
I love our defense. I absolutely think that it's one of the best in the league. And we are when it comes to, like I said, the we only allow 5 yards per carry. But even in us only allowing the 5 yards per carry, we've given up 20 runs of 10 yards or more in the last 4 games. And that includes 2 runs of at least 33 yards in the last 2 games. So, like that's us defending the run. I'm not exactly sure what like we can do to improve that, because they do when we allow these teams to walk all over us, it definitely is something that to me makes us look not like a Super Bowl caliber defense in those moments, because we should be able to defend the run to that extent. Let's see. Oh gosh, I'm trying to get to some of y'all's comments. Baron, he says, right, the backup QB is not supposed to lose. Like, right, exactly. Dak is just better. You know that. We know that. Everybody knows that except for Matthew. So he says, I'm not sure if Dak will be a great passer, though. Jerry wants to win games by passing a lot, but when we play conservative, it helps us keep the ball out of harm's way. Plus, it keeps our defense fresh and flying around.
So on that note, I do agree that when we gave Dak his money, it's like our offensive scheme changed, that we felt like we had to show off his arm. Like we paid him, so he's going to throw the ball more, and we went away from the run. And I don't know that was a bit in the best interest of the team in general, because I feel like we're a running team. Like we run, and even though it is somewhat predictable, that's what opens up the passing game for us. And so I'm not saying Dak's arm can't get us there. I definitely do not think Cooper Rush is better than Dak.
No.
I just, and I was talking with someone earlier who said the playbook is kind of dumbing down for Cooper, and I'm cool with that. If that's the case, cool. He makes good checkdowns. He takes what the defense gives him. He doesn't make a lot of risky passes because he's very conservative. And hey, I'm cool with that. Get us where we need to be.
What you say? Go ahead.
I said, get us where we need to be.
I'm with that. So on to this question by Adidas Cooper. Are you starting Dak Sunday against the Eagles, and do you think he should start over Coop? Listen, Dak needs to chill down. Y'all, as the official Dak ambassador, no, I do not want Dak to come back this Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. No, I don't. And partly because they're talking about he needs to be able to spin the football. That thumb is not completely healed yet. Bring him back in 2 to 3 weeks, but definitely not this week against the Eagles. And no, he's not going to start over Cooper Rush, because Cooper Rush should be starting this game. So, you think he should come back?
I mean, I want him to come back when he's healthy. Whatever. If he's not healthy, then it doesn't make sense. But my thing is, if you're saying Rush is a better QB than Dak, then obviously you don't know football as much as you think you do. I'm just reading the comments, sir.
Dak, first of all, what are you saying is better? Because that's part of the reason. You guys do not look at statistics, because if you did, you would pay attention and realize, like, on paper, Dak, like, hands down, is a better QB.
It's not even about on paper for me. Because
I'm saying that's the factual evidence, but everything else you got to say is clear. Absolutely, Dak is still the better QB. But go ahead, Sadil.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, even outside of paper, because sometimes, you look at the numbers. Case in point, look at the numbers from this game. What happened? Do you hear an echo?
No.
Okay, case in point, look at the numbers from this game.
Okay.
Cooper Rush threw for what, 100 yards?
Yeah.
And won the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They won the game. That's that. So something like that, I would say that's defense. That's our defense.
Definitely. You take our defense out of this game, we definitely lose.
It's a wrap. Yeah. Absolutely. We now, mind you, with that, we are still the only team in the defense that has not given up multiple touchdowns in a game. Everybody we played has only been able to score one touchdown or less. And we're also the only team left in the NFL that has that we haven't allowed 20 points or more per game. Like, nobody's been able to put up 20 points on us. That's all defensive. Now, Barron is saying at this moment the offensive line is the MVP, but the offensive line, like, they're good. Yes, they're great. But imagine what they're going to look like when we are healthy. Okay? Because right now we're playing with a rookie. We're playing with a rookie at left tackle. And it's, y'all, I'm telling you, like, when we get good and healthy on the offensive line, boy, y'all better watch, because that's going to be incredible for Dak, who, to me, historically has needed a little bit more time in the pocket before he makes the decision to use his legs or whatever the case. You don't even got to look at me the way that you just kind of looked at me, because that wasn't, necessary. Well, let's see. Okay, so he says, Ellis says, I'll say this, numbers don't lie, but they can manipulate. Okay.
Agreed.
That sounds like a real Sadell quote.
Agreed.
So LaRon says 100 yards and didn't turn the ball over. No, he didn't. Where is your comment, Link?
There's a lot of comments. I just kind of skipped them. So Dier says, we all know Dak is better, but I don't think who is better matters right now. The Cowboys are 4-1. Let's enjoy that for now. But I mean, at some point, we just gotta. And I mean, at the end of the day, there's no way Dak is gonna play backup to Cooper Rush. It's not gonna happen.
No, that's not gonna happen. Lincoln says also the 2022 Cowboys have beaten two teams that were in the last Super Bowl, but the pundits are saying the Rams and Bengals are not good teams, but Philly is. Yo, let's go ahead and dive into these other games. Since that's what you want to talk about, let's do it. Okay, so we're gonna recap a couple of the Week 5 games, and then answer some questions before we get to other sports news. So here's the deal. Thursday night football started off with the Colts and the Broncos. Y'all, horrible.
Yeah.
Did anybody else fall asleep or struggle to stay awake during that game? It was horrible. It was a field goal fest. Nobody scored touchdowns. And then it had the nerve to go into daggone overtime.
Yeah.
Y'all,
for no reason.
For no reason whatsoever. So here's the thing. Statistically, the Broncos were slightly better in passing and rushing yards and the yards per play. But Denver legit just kind of gave this game away, right? And it's like with Russell Wilson, he couldn't hold on to the ball. He couldn't keep the ball and kept giving it back to the Broncos defense to be able to withhold the Colts from scoring points. And so if Sadell, in that situation where the defense is probably obviously frustrated after they did what they were supposed to do on the field multiple times, they gave you the ball back multiple times, you didn't take care of it, you either turned it over, you did something. that it did not convert to points. It did not move the chains down the field, but you were constantly giving your defense the ball back. At this point, what is the locker room vibe going on with the Denver Broncos and with Russell Wilson?
I mean, I'm sure it's frustrating, and I feel like everybody's kind of wondering like what's going on with him, and now he's got this shoulder injury, and maybe out, and who knows if he's going to play or whatever. But I'm sure it's frustrating. But at the end of the day, in the locker room, I mean, they're going to have to get things together to be able to win. So it's frustrating. I mean, we did the same thing. Think about our defense. So defense scored first, right? Our defense scored the first touchdown of the game. Then we go back and we get the ball. We give the ball back to offense on the 20. They could not get it in, right? So you're starting at the freaking 20-yard line and we have to kick a field goal. So, I mean, defense at some point is going to be like, God dang, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But at the end of the day, everybody still wants to win.
Yeah.
So
can they get better? And if they get better, is it all gonna have to start with Russell Wilson?
I think for the most part it has to start with Russell Wilson, because think of the eyes that are on him right now. Because before it was like, okay, you didn't have a line, there was so much stuff that was going on, and now you got this fresh new start, and I mean, they're expecting like, Super Bowl Russ to be there. And he just kind of seems out of sync. And I feel bad for him because, it is a new team, right? It's a new offense. It's a new system. It's a lot of stuff that he has to learn. But it just, right now, he doesn't look like Russell Wilson.
No, he doesn't. And you know what makes me think even more like that Russell Wilson doesn't look like Russell Wilson? Like when I see the Seahawks play, like the Seahawks look so much better this season than they have in the last few seasons with Russell Wilson at QB.
And I mean, like a part of that too is he got to the point where he didn't want to be there, and good, bad, or indifferent, it that does have a tendency to affect the way you play sometimes. So
okay, moving on to Giants and the Packers. Y'all, the Green Bay Packers only scored 2 points in the second half. At this point, the Packers' number one receiver is Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb, y'all. Randall Cobb ended up with 99 yards with 7 receptions. Meanwhile, Allen Lazard only had 35 yards, and Romeo Doubs, who was supposed to be like the second coming in the last few weeks, only had 29 yards. Now, run-wise, the Packers still have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon rushing, but is that enough for the Green Bay Packers, or are they going to have to figure out some type of connection, chemistry between Aaron Rodgers and these receivers? What needs to happen?
Yeah, I mean, when you go away from a Devontae Adams, yeah, I mean, it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. And girl, why you keep putting Matthew stuff up? Matthew,
I'm just posting the comments because we want to be able to read
excuses for every professional athlete except LeBron. That's crazy and absolutely not true. But anyway, I just feel like, at the end of the day, he lost a big part. He lost his security blanket, and he gonna have to fix it. He gonna have to, the connection is gonna have to get better. They're gonna have to find a way to make it work. But in the meantime, they could put that off for the next few weeks. That would be great too.
Do you see Aaron, if it does not get better with their receiving core, do you think this may be Aaron Rodgers' last season in Green Bay?
In Green Bay, meaning he's going to leave and go play somewhere else, or meaning he might retire?
Either one.
I don't see him at this point leaving after he's made this big production that I'm going to stay here and this is where I'm going to retire. I don't see him leaving.
Yeah.
And what I would be more likely to see is him do something kind of like the GOAT did in Tampa Bay, is go and get people to come and play with him.
That would be super
He's
interesting.
not going to miss out on all this money that he just got from them because of this one season. I don't see that happening.
Okay. Moving on with the Jets Dolphins. Y'all. The Jets beat the Miami Dolphins like the New York Jets beat them 40-17. Now, mind you, Miami does not have their starting QB Tua, nor do they have their second string QB Teddy Bridgewater, who also went out with a concussion. Both of them are out on concussion protocols, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the show as well. So now Miami is currently starting their rookie quarterback Skylar Thompson. And this is the deal. Offensively, especially in their receiving core, the Miami Dolphins receiving core is stupid ridiculous, with Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and they have our former receiver Cedric Wilson as well. Rushing, though, they got Raheem Mostert there, and he had 18 carries for 113 yards. So even though they weren't able to put the ball in the air with their third string, they were still able to run the ball. And but the thing is, like, it's not enough. And for the New York Jets, they just got Zach Wilson back. And like, but they have Breece Hall. Y'all, Breece Hall, he rushed for 97 yards, right? But he also caught 2 passes for 100 yards.
Yeah.
What? So I think that's ridiculous. And really and truly, like, Breece Hall outperformed the Jets running back Michael Carter. He outperformed the receivers Corey Davis, and he outperformed Garrett Wilson that picked up from the waiver wire that didn't do anything. So that really kind of got to me too. So basically, with Miami losing their last 2 games, like, they really are going to have to step it up. They're going to have to step up their run game and utilize their running backs more, since they won't be able to. Well, currently they're not able to put the ball in the air, but hopefully their third string will be able to do something with the receivers this next coming week. But the Jets,
yeah,
I really kind of feel like they may be a sleeper team. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter alone. Like, Zach Wilson may just be taking his time, getting his feel, with his team and stuff. But they got some key pieces, and I'm curious to see where the Jets are going to, like, how they're going to end this season. They could be playoff bound.
Girl, I don't know about that, but
okay, Fidel, the Ravens and Cincinnati. OMG. Here's the deal. I picked Cincinnati to beat the Ravens because they blew them out the box last season a couple of times. But this season, consistently, each week we talk about the Cincinnati Bengals don't look like the Cincinnati Bengals from last season. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase cannot get it done on their own.
Yeah.
They can't. And this is the deal. Jamar Chase legit requires so much coverage, right? So you're going to need somebody else to pick it up. T. Higgins missed most of that game with an ankle sprain. Tyler Boyd needs to be more involved because Jamar Chase is attracting the defense. So you can't blame, at this point, the offensive line in Cincinnati. It just looks like Joe Burrow has to be in sync with the rest of the receivers, and they got to figure out something else What do you think about that? Is it Joe Burrow or is it their offensive scheme? Like, who's to blame for the foolery?
I honestly, it doesn't really. I don't know this necessarily Joe Burrow. I just, for whatever reason, I don't know what else could have changed, to get them so out of sync right now. But
yeah,
they don't look like the same team as last year. And sometimes people have this rookie super season, and then that sophomore season hit, and everything kind of looks a little bit different. That happens sometimes, but I don't know. I don't know. They're definitely out of sync, and they do not look the same.
They don't. They really don't. Because I really feel like that game, the Ravens, they could have held the Ravens in that game. That definitely was not what happened. Okay, so moving forward, the Chiefs and the Raiders. Okay,
Yeah.
it's the last game. So there's a few things about this Chiefs and Raiders game. Both Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams had over 100 yards. The Chiefs have spread their ball around into oblivion trying to win games without Tyreek Hill. And what's happening is that even though they're passing the ball around to every running back, every receiver, the only person scoring touchdowns is Travis Kelce. And thank goodness, because I have him on my Dope Sports Chics fantasy team. And I need him to score these touchdowns. But offensively, it's just the Raiders weren't able to convert this game when it mattered most. They weren't able to convert third downs. They weren't able to do what they needed to do when it mattered most. Devontae Adams is their number one receiver. They have made that known wide and well. However, let me tell y'all, this is going to be our little segue, and so we can move forward. Y'all know Devontae Adams just got charged with misdemeanor assault.
Right.
The cameraman after the game because he was ticked off. Sadell.
No, but check this out. So I don't know if you saw, but this cameraman is claiming, and I'm not minimizing anything, but I'm saying he's talking about whiplash, concussion, headaches, but like he gonna have to be in a body cast. Like he supposedly has all these injuries. So Devontae did apologize. Hey, I was just kind of heated after the game. But he said on another note, he did run right in front of me as I'm walking out, and but that push was kind of violent. There's been so many memes on that, like with people showing other people just sliding across the floor, sliding across whatever. But yeah, has the strangest or strongest?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But yeah, Ant says the cameraman is trying to retire this year and will, because he claiming he got all kind of everything. So he about to get he trying to get paid now. I'm not gonna be running the camera anymore. I'm gonna buy my own camera and sit at home, and
It's unfortunate because this was a preventable situation. It did not have to happen the way that it did. And I understand being in your emotions in the middle of the moment, but you have to be smarter than that. You have to be able to control those things and find other ways to relieve that energy. You could have went in the locker room and punched the wall or something, but what you don't do is put your hands on somebody and risk your season, your career, your money, your livelihood, whatever the case is. Everybody saw it, so you can't deny it. But that wasn't the only thing. There was also this call, a roughing the passer call on Chris Jones to Derek Carr. Now, that's going to be my quirky Queen's question of the day. How do you guys think that the NFL should handle all of the roughing the passer calls?
Yeah, so and it's crazy because they did a breakdown of roughing the passer calls over the past, I think, 3 years, and they've decreased each year, which seems weird because at this point now, I think they say we've already had 26, and I think the thing is, the way they look, like you can tell they're intentionally trying to not land on the quarterback. they're intentionally trying. They let him go as soon as
Yes.
they, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. They're very cautious.
Still getting these calls, but to me, in that game, that wasn't the most controversial call. To me, that holding call that happened. Like, how do you get? I don't know that I've ever seen a defensive holding penalty. Definitely not on a field goal, but a defensive holding penalty that gives them the ball back. Like, to me, that's the most controversial call. Because I've never seen that.
So as far as the roughing the passer calls, like at this point, especially with the Tom Brady, because it happened again in the Bucks game, and it was the roughing the passer against Tom Brady. And of course, the commentators are asking, well, what do you think about the call? You know, that wasn't pass rush or roughing the passer. And here goes Tom Brady. I don't make the calls, but you benefit from them. And we're talking about first downs and 15 yards. Like, understand that that's something that can make or break a game, especially in crucial parts of the game. And so now the NFL is considering reviewing the roughing the passer calls from the booth, which I feel like they should have been doing a long time ago. I definitely feel like it's necessary to review certain calls, and that they should have somebody in the booth to or somebody in New York to say, hey, no, that was not roughing the passer, overturn that call. Somebody needs to be doing that for every game in every single in every single game. It had, to me, that has to happen. Okay, so Ant says, I still don't understand what happened on the last Raiders offensive play when Devontae Adams ran into Hunter Renfrow. The Raiders, I don't know what happened, y'all. I do not.
I think that's probably what had him more mad than anything.
Him running into his teammate. that just seems like it was some confusion on the play call.
Clearly.
Okay, since we are running out of time, just FYI, you guys, the NFLPA has added ataxia, which is a term describing impaired balance and coordination caused by damage to the brain or nerves. They have added that term into their concussion protocols in order to prohibit players from returning to the game to play if they are experiencing that. So now that you guys will be able to, well, you will see a lot more or safer concussion protocols going forward, not just in the NFL, because I think the NFL sets the precedence and then it goes down. Collegiate, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen if somebody was out with a concussion, they did not come back. All over the NFL, it's happened multiple times. And then it's going to trickle down to high school, little leagues, where those things are going to be bigger and bigger. So, and people are going to utilize these protocols for more prevention. And I hope that it continues to get better, and that they have a turnaround on these rules and stuff the way that they did this one. This is something that I feel like the NFLPA, they did right by this rule. Oh wow! Paul says it's too late now. Tua suffered from it the worst. Absolutely. Yeah. But unfortunately, situations like this have to occur before somebody steps in and say, okay, now the rule has to be changed. Now we have to make an amendment. And that's just the way things happen. Sometimes it's just truly unfortunate. No, Paul, not the Eagles. Go ahead.
That's what he says is go Eagles. Coach Paul, no.
Eagles. We don't do ghetto and ugly on this show with the Feagles. Go ahead, Sadil. What you got?
briefly, I just want to talk about what we mentioned earlier, that OU Texas game. So we had a basketball game this weekend, and I thought it was a joke. I looked at the score. I was like, what is going on? And I'm like calling my brother, like, are you watching the game? What's going on?
49 to 0.
To zero? To zero? I mean,
0.
so OU had dropped down to 18 last week, but they dropped off. Like, they just done disappeared. I don't know what's going on. They gone, but USC still holding strong. They at number 7. So as much as they said it may not have been the coach, apparently it has something to do with the coach, because he, still in the run.
Yeah.
They did drop Alabama down a couple of spots, but I don't think anybody's going to beat Georgia. I don't think anybody. Paul says finally Texas Longhorns get a win. And the crazy thing is, and I'm just going to be honest, Texas Longhorns, you just watch over the next 2 to 3 years, like that trend is about to be crazy.
You better tell them. You better. We get a Manning next year. We got the best running back in the whole college football realm,
and quarterback and several receivers and several DBs. Like, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. So I would be on the lookout for it. University of Texas in the next few years. Yeah, yes.
Quinn
and so
is the truth. Yes,
and he's back. Yes. So it'll be interesting to see. So on top of that, the other thing I was going to talk about. So we talked about. Did you mention this Golden State thing with Draymond?
No, not yet. Go ahead, though. I'm ready.
So this thing is going to be interesting. So people made a few comments. They were basically saying that Draymond should have gotten suspended and not just fined. That whenever he got into it with KD, he just made comments that hurt KD's feelings. He was suspended for a game. And so they're saying that Poole is not as important. And then they were like, well, what if it had been Steph Curry? Mm-hmm. Like, what would have happened to him?
Right.
I don't really know. I mean, the video looks bad. The video looks bad, but we don't really know what happened. On the other note, Poole did push him first, even though Draymond walked up in him. So, I'm just saying, and I'm being honest, this is just me. If somebody is walking up on me like that, you're not getting the first lick. I'm not gonna push you. If you walking up like something gonna happen, then that's just gonna be that. And we're gonna go from there. Draymond admitted he has some things. Now, what Golden State does really well is they put their golden boy as their spokesperson.
Yes.
And he does a good job of diffusing everything. And basically he was just like, Draymond brings a lot of fire and everything to the game, and I don't want him to lose that. But we got to put the team first, and we got to make the right decisions that are going to help benefit the team. And clearly, Poole has never been in a fight, and definitely not with a maniac like Draymond Green. There's no freaking way Draymond walking up to me aggressively, and I'm not going to swing first. I'm not going to push him away and put my hands down. Because that's just kind of what he did. But the problem is there's things like this that's exactly what I was going to say. This kind of stuff happens all the time. Like, this has happened in practices with my AAU team. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody gets heated, they get into it, they both go run. They go, girl, take that down. This dude is funny. Steph is a horrible spineless leader. Are you crazy?
No, he's not.
He's not.
But right, Baron. Who leaked the tape?
Somebody leaked the tape. That's the spineless, horrible person. Whoever leaked the tape is the spineless, because what happens in the house stays in the house.
Stays in the daggone house.
That's how that happens. Now, whatever they had decided to do with Draymond, they could have decided to do with Draymond. And yes, okay, it gets out. Draymond has been fined, suspended, whatever. There was an incident that happened, but the tape itself getting leaked out, that person needs to be suspended, because that should never have happened. But as far as players getting into it and that kind of thing, that just, I don't think either one of you have thrown a punch in. I almost threw a punch today at this kid. He was talking fly. I said I had to catch myself, kid, because I came here to coach. I didn't really come here to teach, but regardless of that, why is all this stuff happening on his watch? You see nobody cut up Kobe watch, blah, blah, blah. We don't know what happened on Kobe's watch and MJ's watch because it didn't get leaked to the press.
Right.
So as saying that because he's the captain that nothing's going to happen. I mean, he doesn't, like, they're grown men. He don't control it. Yeah, right. Bad things can happen. I agree.
Right, Jamil. Exactly. It should not have made it to the that's team.
So to me, the person who leaked it, if that's a player, that person should be suspended as much as Draymond is. Let's go Cowboys. Thank you. I appreciate somebody with some sense.
Okay. Okay, Chad. Right. It still came out. There was no tape and Poole seriously got hurt. Would they cover it up? No, I don't think you can cover it up at that point. But I think the whole
I think they would have tried to cover it up some.
I think that's something that, like you said, it should have stayed in-house. That was not the case. And as far as his fine, I'm okay with the fine over the suspension. I mean, Draymond Green is Draymond Green, but do you think that, this will be something that may keep him or may have him looking for another team in the offseason?
To me, the Warriors are not the Warriors without Draymond Green. I mean, I don't think they're going to get rid of him.
I don't think they are. I don't think it was a publicity stunt. No, I think it was something that got leaked, went wrong.
I think they were just having heated things, and who knows what it.
Dang. He's definitely someone in the organization, probably one of Steve Kerr's cronies. Gosh.
Okay. So case in point. So Matthew says you are nuts. Matthew, first of all, let's clear. What did you play sports? Let's just clear that up. I just want you to answer that question. But anyway, the captain of the team does almost control the other players while in the game setting. Granted, you still have to give respect, but we've seen each of the three guys I named check their teammates. So just because I'm saying, I would say the captain does check them, but does the captain, is he going to be like, oh, I'm controlling it? If he turns his back and something happened, anything could happen. I mean, we don't know what the situation was. We don't know anything that happened. All we know is what we saw in that little clip of tape. And yeah, he does control. He does try and check people. He does do that, but he's not controlling. Like, they're not freaking robots. He doesn't have a remote control over them to say, hey, this is not going to happen. So I do feel like he does have a sense of control, and I do feel like he is a good leader. But yeah, so he only.
Did you say he only choked him? He only choked him.
But yeah, so I mean, the captain, I do feel like, is a vocal point. I do feel like they're a voice of reason. I do feel like, they do show leadership qualities, but to say that there's never going to be a fight, argument, any of that on there. That's a good one, Matthew.
So, okay.
Anyway, no, but it's cool. We'll go into it later, Matthew. Don't worry about it.
Okay, there's somebody up here that posted something that was so jacked up, and I'm trying to find it so we can talk about it real quick before we wrap up. Maybe the football gods have blessed me because I don't even see it no more. Okay, so basically they posted a score for the Dallas Philly game.
Oh, some hater.
Hater.
I saw that too.
So Sadell, we just who do you have for that game before we wrap up?
I mean, I'm gonna ride with the Cowboys.
I'm gonna stick beside them.
I'm a little concerned.
You're discouraged?
I'm not discouraged. No, I said I'm a little concerned.
Okay. Okay, I could dig that a little bit. Yes. Now, here's the deal. The Eagles have scored 20 plus points in each of their games that they played thus far. Um, and they played the Lions, the Vikings, the Commanders, the Jaguars, and the Cardinals, right? On the list of strength of schedule from 1 to 32, understand that 1 is the easiest strength of schedule and 32 is the most difficult strength of schedule. My Dallas Cowboys are at number 10, but the Eagles are at number 2, which means they have the second easiest schedule throughout out of everybody in the league. Guess who the number 1 team is that has the easiest team in the entire NFL? The Giants. So we have the third most difficult strength of schedule in our division. Okay. So playing against the Eagles, like we have some difficult games coming up, but the Eagles actually have an easier rest of the season. Now, what does that mean with us going forward with this game? We absolutely got to find a way to win this game if we can. It's one thing if we lose it and we lose and they're like, oh, we lost because it's our second string QB. Regardless of that, we still got to figure out a way to win. And on top of that, look, Jalen Hurts has performed outstanding. Like they're talking about him in MVP conversations. However, I do think that because the Eagles have consistently, when they score their touchdowns in their game versus the Lions, they had 155 yards from Brown. They had 4 rushing touchdowns. With the Vikings, they had 1 receiving touchdown, but 2 touchdowns from Hurts. With the Commanders, they had 3 receiving touchdowns. And then with the Jags, it's all rushing, and the Cardinals. So with the Commanders, they were able to score their most receiving touchdowns because the Commanders were able to stop the run. We are not a defensive team to stop the run. So if we force them to put the ball in the air, that's where they get the majority of their points. So we've got to be able to defend their passing game. We got to figure out a way to do that, and that's how we'll be able to stop Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think my thing with that's my only concern. So I know that we have, and I was talking to someone about this earlier too. I mean, from a defensive perspective, we have we're probably second in the NFL, and then they have I think they're top 5 in offense, right? So yeah. I do feel like we'll win that battle. If we can score 20 points, we're going to win the game.
Yeah. If we can score 20?
If we score 20 points, we'll win the game. I feel like our defense will do a good job of hope if we can contain Jalen. That's my only concern because he's probably the most mobile QB that we faced this far. And that makes it a little bit different, So when you have to have him as a running threat and as well as being able to throw the ball and being able to throw the deep ball really well, that's going to be the tricky thing. We cannot, I agree. We can't blitz him a lot.
It's not going to work, right?
But I don't know, man. Micah is a dynamic kind of dude. He doesn't give up. His motor is out of this world crazy. So yes. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great game. I do predict the Dallas Cowboys will win.
I predict that my Dallas Cowboys will win. My concern is not even necessarily the Eagles, but it is that Micah Parsons has a groin injury and DeMarcus Lawrence is battling an injury as well. Hopefully they will both be able to play this Sunday. We shall see. We've got to get ready to wrap this up. I'm going to show you guys last few comments on here. Ellis says that defense will score. Hurts will be contained. I'm not worried about it at all. Lincoln says Donovan Wilson gives him the smackdown. Let me tell you, I hope so. Sadale, do you want to go ahead and do your Dope Sports Chicks of the
really quick? I just want to send our condolences out to the family of Tiffany Jackson. She was an amazing player from this area. She played at Lincoln. She also played at Duncanville, graduated, got a state championship. She went on to be a Lady Longhorn. She played in the WNBA for the Liberty, Tulsa Shock, and the Sparks. She recently lost her battle with cancer. I did not know her personally, but I know people who did, and everyone says she was a wonderful, amazing person, player, friend, and mother. And so definitely want to send our condolences out and appreciate everything that she contributed to society and to the game of women's basketball.
We've got to wrap it up and get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love you, and we will see you next week.
Peace out.